Welcome back to the Board Drill Podcast. This is Coach Dixon. We are here at the Playbook Clinic in Orlando, Florida, and we're just here talking to some coaches. Coach, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody, or say good afternoon right now. My name is Coach Mark Sanon. Coach the D-line at the Lady High School, based out of Naples, Florida.
Very good, Coach. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience there and what's brought you into coaching?
Changing people's lives. At the end of the day, I'm not here about myself. It's about what the kids do when they get their lives, changing their lives. I tell the kids all the time, if they become millionaires or they do something successful in their lives and they never speak to me again, but if they're successful, I'm happy that they don't have to talk to me again. I did my job by making sure that they're great and, they're doing better than when they started off. There's some coaches out there that come out there and they're like, oh, I don't need that, in myself. I want them to be better than what they started off. So I don't go in it for the glory. I don't go in it for the money. I don't go in for any of that stuff because we don't, sometimes coaches, are there for the right reasons. So for me, I just want the kids to be better than what they started off.
Well, Coach, we know you damn sure don't do it for the money in the state. So that's one thing we know. But Coach, that's such a humble thing to say and a way to start out. Obviously this is such a great community. That's why we do this podcast of coaches that just care about players and they care about, forwarding young men's lives and making them great, fathers and husbands one day. And just to hear the first thing out of your mouth say that, Coach, that probably speaks volumes about your character and about how successful you're going to be as a coach right out the gate. I mean, if that's the only thing I knew about you, I'd probably hire you on my staff. It's the honest truth, right? Like, if we don't have great men that want to be leaders of young men and teach them how to be, like I said, husbands and fathers, it doesn't matter how much ball you know, Coach. If you're not willing to make connections and do that, you can't teach someone that doesn't want to learn from you. So that's such a great attitude. So you said you're the D-line coach over there. So you're going around to these clinics. What are you looking to learn this offseason, D-line wise or even defensive wise to better you guys? Is there any one thing in particular you're going around like, hey, I want to know more about this?
The reality is when you go to these clinics, the reality is you want to just know you take 1% out of everybody.
Yep.
Even if you don't agree with everybody that what they're saying, you want to just take 1% of what that coach is trying to tell you. Because at the end of the day, yes, everybody can say, well, I know how to do this better. I know how to do this better. But if you can take something from 1% from each coach and bring it to your staff, that makes you a better coach. It's not about being, I can talk about it and I can be the best coach. It's what can you take and what can you apply to your kids? Because a lot of times we don't want to listen. We all think that we know what's best. And that's the problem that I'm not ever been like that way. I've always been saying that, like, listen, what I may go through is different from what you may go through as your coaching staff. So if I come into your staff and I'm like, well, I know everything else out there, but if I'm not willing to listen, that's already a big problem in my character book. You have to be willing to listen to other coaches and just say, hey, I don't agree with a lot of things you say, but what you said about this part, I do agree. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to add it to my recipe. I'm going to add it to my dish. So when my kids come back there, I've learned something different that I didn't know last year.
And that's so true, Coach. That's a very important thing an assistant coach to have, is to come in and be able to up in your system. Can you talk a little bit about your system there, what you're running defensively, schematically?
Well, we run almost a 3, right? So a lot of the times is a lot of the kids have to be able to adjust on the fly. We just came in there, like, again, I was out of coaching for about 6 years. I started coaching when I was about 24 years old, 23 years old. So we took over when we were young. And a lot of the times I was putting in 12 to 16 hours a day, maybe even 20, because when you're 23, 24, you know,
you
what else
go.
you know better, right? It's like you
gas pedals down.
So you're like, okay, well, I'm 23, 24. Oh, okay, the game, your practice is over. You're going over film, you're breaking down film, you're talking to the kids, you're talking about this other stuff. As I've gotten older, you learn how to manage that time. But the reality is just that, that's changed as I've gotten older, how I can be better to assist my, the kids. And as an assistant coach, it's always been like my biggest thing is I like I like to follow the chain of command. There's a head coach, OC, DC, and then there's you. And again, if I don't agree with something with the OC or DC, that's fine. We can talk it out, but I always have to follow the chain of command because it's always like that. And a lot of times these days, these kids nowadays that I'm trying to teach them is like they want to go to the head coach, but did you talk to the position coach? Did you talk to the OC or the DC while you're not playing much? And then you want to go to the head coach and saying that, oh, he's being mean to me. Well, it's not he's being mean to you. Have you seen yourself practice the last 2 or 3 weeks?
Holding you accountable.
Exactly.
That's the phrase, right? Is he?
Right.
You're mad because he's holding you accountable for your actions.
Right. Because I have to talk to because let's see for the D-line coach, I have to talk to the DC, and the DC is telling me, "Hey, coach, I like where you're going with this kid, but he's not showing me enough to be ready. So what am I going to do? I'm going to argue with the DC. I'm going to argue with the OC. Like that's." And a lot of kids are like, well, coach, you're not sticking up for me. No, I'm not. I am trying to stick up for you, but you have to advocate for yourself and be ready to play and practice every practice. I can't tell the DC, hey, coach, he's only practiced 1/3 of the week, but he's ready to go on Friday.
Coach Dixon, I don't know where you found Coach, but he's already on here dropping mad knowledge bombs. I mean,
I love it.
Coach, I'll tell you right now, I'm going to echo that again. Coach, I'd hire you on my staff after about 5 minutes. So that's the biggest compliment I can give someone. Don't worry, I'm not a head coach. I'm just some slapper with the podcast. But, Coach, I'll tell you what, after we've been talking for 6 minutes and 38 seconds, you got the approval from me. I know it doesn't mean much in our world, but I'll tell you what, I love everything you're saying. So are you guys – you're in this clinic. Are you guys going to any schools this year to visit them to kind of learn from them?
Absolutely. We're learning from what other teams are doing to us. Again, a lot of our kids, Coach Hammer, he just came over from Illinois, the head coach. So he's trying to build a culture. His biggest thing is family over everything. Yeah. And just learning about family over everything. We're trying to teach the kids about little integral things about like, for example, if you can't get this right here, if you can't make this up, how do we adjust to this? How do we get better at this? It's not always about, well, I can't figure this out. Well, if you can't figure this out, let's find a solution. Because a lot of kids nowadays, it's just they can't find a solution. Well, I give up, coach. I'm done. I'm done with today. Yeah. Well, no, let's find a solution. Let's get better at it. And that's been the biggest thing that I'm trying, Coach Hammer's trying to talk about is like, okay, if you can't get if it's a ride to practice, if it's a ride to getting to a job, if you have to take care of your family, how can we help each other become better men of characters?
Yeah, Coach, I think it plays back into that old Madden reset button. You're not winning the game. You reset the game. You start a new game. And we kind of have a culture of players, of students that want to do that. I'm a math teacher. Students, if they can't use technology to solve a problem, they give up on it instantly. So exactly what you're saying. We have to develop these problem solvers in our community, and it starts in football. It starts in school, and you're right on the right point there, Coach.
One of the things I was blessed to have parents. My mom and dad. God rest my mom. She passed away of cancer from 5 years ago. Actually, yesterday was her 5-year anniversary when we buried her. My mom and my dad always taught me about don't be the reason why the problem continues to happen. Be the reason why you solve the problem. Always find a solution. Because at the end of the day, you guys who've coached, you guys have done your podcasts and all that stuff, you can tell me a million stories where there's been a problem, this, that, and the third. And we all know the problem is there. And we can talk about it for 8 hours straight. But the problem after 8 hours straight, it's still going to be there.
Problem. Yeah.
How do we fix the problem?
Yep. Now, I work in the business world, and my CEO says it all the time. You have all these people and you get these email chains, and like you're saying, these are adults and they just keep talking about the problem over and over. And I actually had one yesterday, and I got in there and said, let's make it. Literally, my email was, hey, let's make an action plan right now.
Right.
And my CEO actually texted me and he goes, thank you. He was like, thank you. Because he was like me. He was just frustrated with all these people restating the problem. And I said, guys, it's a simple thing. Let's just make a quick action plan. Coach, 2 emails later, we had a solution. And all it took was me to write that. By the way, I'm not a higher up. I'm just the director of marketing at my company, but I happen to be tagged on it with the leadership team. And I'm like, guys, just make an action plan. I think that's all he wants. So it's,
problem solving.
Addressing the problem absolutely is part of it, right? Saying the problem out loud is the first part of it. But like you said, if you don't follow it up with an action plan or a solution, you're just an idiot talking about problems and you're complaining.
Right. And that's the thing that I do as a head coach. When the head coach has a problem, he can talk about the problems. Because remember, when you're the head coach, you have to deal with admin, the parents, the kids, this, that, and the third. He comes to the table. He's like, I have a problem. Coach, we all know the problem is. And I can continue to tell you the problem 70,000 times. And he's going to be like, yeah, okay, but coach, I still have that problem. What are you doing to help that problem? Oh, and my always thing is just like, for example, one of the things I do that I take pride is laundry. I tell the kids all the time, I don't want your laundry to smell like crap. I don't want you to come out there and smelling like crap before you're going out there for a game. Why? Because it's little things like that. Who wants to go out there and smell like crap? Who wants to see their jersey with all the stains on there? Who wants to be like that? It's little things like that. And my things, even when I was a youngin', when I was back in my days in the 20s, that was my first thing. How do I help the coach and take off his plate? And that's the biggest thing for an assistant coach is to take off the head coach's plate. Not to add, but to say, I don't need him to tell me anything. I don't need him to ask me about it. It's already done. So when he comes to me and say, oh, coach, I got it. It's already done, coach. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
What are we on next?
I don't think you're a real coach unless you've done 100 loads of laundry at some point. I just don't. I mean, I've been a position coach. I've been a DC. I've been a head coach at high school. I've been a DFO at the college level. And I've done more sets of laundries and more loops than a lot of people. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of a rite of passage in coaching. If you haven't changed out some loops and done some laundry, then you haven't really done it, right?
I think we sell a shirt that says real coaches do laundry. Right?
We're gonna start. That's gonna be our real business off this podcast. Is selling random football saying apparel. So
no, it's a pride for me. I think it's a big thing. Is there's a pride for me that I like. I do it for those kids because the thing is, one, I teach them what it means to me to have pride for your clothes.
Yeah.
And when they come out there, they're like, Coach, what are you putting in that smells so good? What are you doing? It's not, because the thing is, if I didn't care about you, I would be like, all right, put this laundry detergent, whatever, and have a nice day. I like to, take time.
Yeah.
One time we played a team in Lee County because we have artificial turf.
Yeah.
Lee County has grass. So the white jerseys that we came out there, I had to, soak them.
You got to pre-treat them. Yep.
Right. And they're like, Coach, you did all that? I'm like, yeah.
Part of the process.
After school? How long did you stay after school? Probably to 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning. Really? Yeah. I don't want you guys going to white jerseys that looks like crap. No.
You can cuss. You're good.
Are you an OxyClean guy?
I'm an Oxy, but I'm also all natural too.
Okay.
I like
all natural.
Vinegar, apple cider vinegar.
Yeah.
It's a mix and match, depending on what you're trying to do. Because, not everything needs to be all vinegar, but like I always say, as we get older and things are changing, the biggest thing that I always like to tell people is that, yes, you can stick to your ways as you get older, but if new information or new technology is coming out, listen to that. Doesn't mean you have to go that route, but listen to what people are trying to tell you. Take some of that, like, oh, okay, I didn't know about this, I didn't know about that, and incorporate into your day-to-day life, your day-to-day life. A lot of people are so stuck in their ways and just like, I'm not doing that. I don't believe in that. Well, how do you know if you haven't tried it? How do you know if you haven't given it an opportunity? Like again, a lot of people are trying to talk about, as we're talking about coaching football, analytics and all that stuff. Back in the day, no one was talking about analytics.
No.
You just do your job. Now we're understanding how analytics has helped the game of football, right? All that stuff. So you have to take what you learned in your past, but also what's going on in the new games at football.
Absolutely, Coach.
Got to give it credit. I never thought, Matt, real quick, I never thought our podcast would be talking about laundry, and I never thought I'd be so happy that we just talked about that. It's
actually a great conversation to have as far as football coaches.
it's more football than people think, right? Everyone thinks about
Yeah.
calling plays when they think about football, right? They say you're a coach, like, oh, you call defensive or offensive plays. It's like, no, I do laundry. I find knee pads. I deal with admin problems, and
Right.
you know, I'm doing more inventory and fundraising than I am a lot of other things. So that's
Right.
It's so funny. Matt,
No,
I think
you
you had
do it-
another question.
Yeah. I know you have a good story for us, Coach. You got to have that coaching story of all coaching stories.
Don't get yourself in trouble, but give us a good
I
one.
won't.
Yeah, don't get yourself in trouble, but you got to have a good one. I know.
So one of my best stories. I love this kid to death. He was one of our best players. He was going to Kansas. So this kid, a lot of the teachers didn't believe in him. He thought he was ineligible. He was never going to make it. And we're like, we're going to get you eligible. Well, this kid was athletically gifted. So the way that we used to call a defense for this kid was that if he was blitzing, he checked to the sideline. Yes or no? Yes meant to go blitz into the backfield. No meant to go into coverage. So we're like, okay. So one game we're playing a team that is running the wing T, almost the wishbone.
Yeah.
He tackles the quarterback. He doesn't have the ball. The running back. He doesn't have the ball. The dive man and the pitch man. He tackles three people in one game. The head coach of the other team is like, did your linebacker tackle three people in one game? Yes. What was your call? Yes. What does that mean? Yes meant he was supposed to blitz.
Yes. What's your call?
No.
Yes. Yes.
No, I've
Love that, Coach.
I've got some stories, and I won't mention the players, but I've heard it from other guys. But one of them, he was a wide receiver, and they talked to, he was just talented, right? He couldn't remember anything.
Right.
They talked about having a specific coach that developed a specific set of signals just to tell that wide receiver what he's doing on every play. By the way, this was in Division I FBS college football, and the guy did play in the NFL for a handful of years. So it goes to show you that coaches are intuitive and innovative, and they'll figure it out.
Absolutely.
Long-time offensive line coach. I had to put in a D lineman that had never played a day of offensive line, had to put him in an offensive tackle.
Yeah.
I literally had to go. If I point down, you're going to down block inside. Gap down backer. Had to teach him that. If I point out, you're going to block the first guy outside you. That's it. Right? So you're looking to the side. Out. That's it.
And yet you like when we were playing them, the coach are looking at us, so like pants are like, yes, no, yes, no. They're like, and we're literally calling the defense for our linebacker because he's literally saying, Coach, do I go in or not? Yes, no.
The coach.
It's amazing.
It's awesome stuff.
Well, great, Coach. We appreciate you coming on the Board Drill podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us, and you got our contact now. So if you ever need anything from us, let us know.
No, I really appreciate you guys talking about what football is now and talking about high school sports. With everything changing, today's world, it's good for people to understand like what coaches are dealing with in today's world with high school football players, because the reality is it has changed so much dramatically. And you guys talking about it, and these kids want to be on these podcasts, and I understand that because you have to be respectful of that. But what you guys are doing, talking about like, hey, listen, the little intricate things that coaches do in high school sports. Like we're talking about, we have to go get these kids, 7-8 kids right back home after the game. We have to do the laundry. We have to make sure these kids are doing this, that, and the right, because that's our job. And it's not, like you said, it's not for the money. It's because we love these kids and we want these kids to be better humans in the society when they get older.
Absolutely, Coach. Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thanks, Coach, for coming on, and we will see you around the clinic there.
All right. Thank you, guys.